Second.
Second.
Commissioner Becker got the second. And discussion. Hearing no discussion, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Byers?
Yes.
Doing two jobs here at once, it's confusing, okay. So, Todd County Development Corporation 2026 allocation. Background is in 2026 budget for the support of the Todd County Development Corporation has been approved at $104,000 and a letter of request has been received to transfer the funds. Your options are to approve the transfer, do not approve the transfer of funds. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution to transfer funds from the general fund to the Todd County Development Corporation Fund, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, very good. 5.4 is the allocation for Todd County Development Corporation for 2026 and the amount of $104,000. And we got the letter of request. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve the transfer.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Noska. And a second, please.
I'll second.
And we got a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll take a voice vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 5.5, please.
Today we have the Todd County Community Corrections 2026 allocation. Background is in 2026 Todd County budget for the purpose of Todd County Wadena Community Corrections has been approved at $664,333 and a letter of request has been received to transfer the allocated funds. Your options are to approve the transfer of funds or do not. The recommendation is to approve the attached resolution for the transfer of funds from the general fund to the Todd Wadena Community Correction Fund for the 2026 allocation. Again, this is a budgeted item.
Thank you very much. So now we're talking about the community corrections with Todd and Wadena 2026 allocation. We do need a motion to move that forward, please.
I'll make the motion to move that forward.
Wonderful.
Pay half and half.
We pay
We
the
pay
full
the full
amount at the
amount always.
beginning of the year.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, take a voice vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion has been carried. Thank you very much. And today, item 6 is the Public Works and Staples Historical Society. And they're looking for sponsorship of 2030 Transportation Alternatives Grant Application.
Good morning.
Morning.
So
Good
with
morning.
me today, this morning, is Eric Hepner with the Staples Historical Society, and also in the back is Tom Kyer with the Staples Historical Society. So the background with this is they've approached us about a month ago to talk about potential sponsorship for them applying for a federal transportation grant called the Transportation Alternatives, which is a grant that would be for the fiscal year of 2030. So they'll be looking at doing kind of like the second phase of the renovation of the Staples Depot. So before we get into the process, we'll let Eric kind of describe what the project is and what they'll be accomplishing with this phase of the project, so.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having us here today. I'm Eric Hepner. I'm the Staples Historical Society Board President. As Lauren noted, I'm joined today by past Board President Tom Kyer. And we are seeking sponsorship for the MnDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant that we are submitting an application for. And it requires that we have Todd County as our grant sponsor. And our depot resides in Todd County. We're proud that it resides in Todd County. We are asking for that approval for you guys to be our grant sponsor. We're not asking for county funding, ownership, or maintenance. So as it relates to Todd County, the Staples Northern Pacific Depot is the only National Register of Historic Places listed railroad depot in Todd County. Much like your beautiful courthouse here, we were added to the National Register of Historic Places at the same year in 1985. It remains an active Amtrak station on the Empire Builder line. We see about 8,000 passengers annually come through the depot. So we're proud to be an active depot as well, which those have been disappearing over the years. So we're happy to, as a historical society, to not just have something of historical significance, but of transit significance as well. The depot was built in 1909 and has served as a transportation gateway for the county for over 100 years. So our project scope is that we are doing our first phase of trying to refurbish the second floor. So this is really about access to the second floor. So we would be refurbishing our existing stairway to meet safety and code requirements. We would like to construct a second compliant emergency stair and install a passenger elevator in the existing shaft, work that we had done previously to provide full ADA access. The benefits for transportation would be that it would enable safe public access to the second floor. It would move our museum functions upstairs, which would free up approximately 1,500 square feet on the ground floor for passenger waiting, circulation, and wayfinding. The county sponsorship is required by the MnDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant. Again, we're happy to be here before you today. And you qualify based upon your experience with administering MnDOT-funded projects. We were here about 15 years ago, Tom, along with Tom Crawford, with a similar Federal Highway Administration grant. And that's through your leadership what really led us to getting our ground floor done and beautiful. So your role, if you chose to accept it, would be to serve as our official sponsor, administer federal funds, and ensure that MnDOT and Federal Highway Administration compliance is done. Project cost and funding, the total project cost that we have estimated is $233,000. Out of that, our eligible construction costs would be $208,000. The MnDOT grant can provide funding of eligible costs up to 80%, which would be a total of $166,000. And then the Staples Historical Society is required to match that remaining 20%. So we would be kicking in about $42,000 for that 20%. And then we also have ineligible costs, which would be our engineering costs, our costs that we would push back your way for your staff. And we've got that estimated at just under $26,000. And again, that would be fully covered by the Historical Society. So there's no financial risk to the Todd County, no county cash contribution. The responsibility for any cost overruns would be owned by the Staples Historical Society, not the county. No maintenance, ownership, or operation. Our financial capacity is that we've been raising money basically since the early 2000s to be able to do this work. So we have an elevator fund that is currently at $51,000 that will easily cover what we need to do for our match. And then we have additional unrestricted reserves to take care of those soft costs as it relates to engineering and grant administration. And then we also have signed a 20-year maintenance resolution as a historical society, and we're committed to it for that amount of time and much longer. So this is really, in our opinion, a strong county Staples Historical Society partnership. We would be improving ADA access and safety as an active passenger rail station. We'd further preserve a national significant transportation facility, which would strengthen downtown Staples and Todd County's transportation connectivity. Additionally, it would leverage over $166,000 in federal transportation funds for Todd County. So in closing, we ask as the Staples Historical Society that you approve our sponsorship to allow submission of the MnDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant. Thank you.
Very good. Want to make questions, anybody?
Yes, I'd be happy to make the motion for support.
Okay.
In doing so, I would also like, Denise, if you could go down to like page 67, I believe, and it shows the pictures of the depot. It would be fun to see those pictures. And I was involved in the last work that was done. And to me, it turned out beautiful. I was able to have a tour of it. I think Laura and I went up and had a tour of it afterwards. So very good work. Yes. But it'd be kind of neat to see those pictures.
Yep, we worked hard to make sure that it was done historically accurately so that, just like you have here with your terrazzo floors and everything as it was built, we've been able to maintain that. And our plan is to do the same with the second floor.
There. And if you scroll down, there's past pictures of the depot. Yeah. And you think it's still a working depot?
Yep, one of the few. There's our roundhouse there. Our biggest regret in the 60s was losing that. But we are working hard to preserve what we have.
And that's today's picture then, or recent.
We had our roof redone, so we've got a fresh roof on it. Our bottom floor is in pristine condition, and now it's really time to get to that second floor to access it for construction purposes and to be able to get it to that historical renovation phase. So you're looking at the first floor here.
Great, beautiful. So you made the motion.
Motion,
We've got a
yes,
motion on the
absolutely.
table. We need a second to do this, moving forward.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Denny, we have a second. Any further discussion? I guess I would just say, I think your presentation was really great. It looks like you really covered all your bases about the financial and who's responsible for things. So we really appreciate when you bring a very detailed and well-thought-out plan, so good job.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You bet. So that's the last of my discussion. Any other discussion? No other
Lauren,
discussion.
you don't have any problems with moving forward? And I know you have.
No, not at all. So
With the first
we've been through this
reservation.
before with them, and we have a good relationship with the Historical Society, and we think it's a valid project, and they're more than happy to lend a hand if they're successful in their application, so.
Great.
Mr. Chair, it is an awesome asset to Todd County, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a quick vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank
us
you.
today and for your support.
Thank you.
Can I ask, the clerk or anybody know, are we dealing with 7 today without representation from the county attorney?
Mr. Chair, I have no notification from them, and he has several staff that could present on his behalf.
I did get a notice that they were short-staffed and didn't think he's gonna make the meeting, so I guess we will either let that go to later. If he doesn't show up, then, or if can't make it, then we'll table it till next time.
Yeah, I like I said, I got no communications.
Let's move on to 8.1, extension. You prepared, you ready? Okay, hi, Tony.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tony Hansen.
Hello, Tony.
Morning, Tony.
Tony Hansen, Regional Director with the University of Minnesota Extension. Pleased to appear before you again today. A couple of updates that our local extension team has here in the packet. First, I just have a few remarks. The document I included is the 2025 extension fact sheet, which just provides an overview of our statewide operations. As we're kicking off the new year here, it's just an opportunity to refresh on what the University of Minnesota Extension is up to. The organization's mission is to make a difference by connecting community needs and university resources to address critical issues in Minnesota. Extension works in all 87 counties here in the state, and 2/3 of our team is based throughout greater Minnesota. Many of our programs are volunteer-based, as you're well aware, which means that counties that have a significant investment in extension programming see a much larger impact and return on that investment in their communities, beyond just the funding of our singular extension staff positions. Statewide extensions funding comes from a variety of sources, including state, federal, and grant funding. Todd County's extension funding goes directly towards our local extension team that serves the residents in this county. In 2026, my goal is to continue to bring highlights to you from our local, regional, and statewide extension teams. So you can expect to see me here in a few more board meetings throughout the year, aside from budget updates and things of that nature, just to highlight other pieces of work that our team is doing. I also work to bring similar updates to our extension committee meetings throughout the year. The Minnesota state statute establishes the guidelines for our county extension committees, which continue to be a vital source of our input, guidance, and oversight for extension work here in Todd County. We take this responsibility very seriously, and I hope that at any time, if you have feedback on our work, or if you see a need in Todd County that you'd like to see if Extension has the opportunity to assist with, please reach out to me to talk. And so one of the pieces that I've charged our local extension team with this year is seeing if there's opportunity to bring forward guests in front of the commissioners who have benefited or participated in some type of extension service that we provide here in the county. And so before I turn it over to my colleague Brenda Miller here to share a little bit about the guests that we brought before you today, I'll pause for any questions that you may have for me.
Board. Take it away.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Brenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be here today and share some of our programming. We have a lot going on in regards to agriculture, not only here in Todd County, but across the state. But before I get into some of our programs that we have going on right here, I am fortunate enough to bring a guest today, a young farmer that I've worked with many times over the years. He's probably a familiar face to a lot of folks in this room, but my job is to support Todd County residents in regards to agriculture topics. So my guest today is Mr. Ted Gray. He is a young farmer from the Long Prairie area here. They raise sheep and beef cattle, and I'll let him introduce a little bit more about himself and some things that I've helped him with over the years.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for having us again today. Appreciate it. So again, I'm Ted Gray. I live in the Todd County community. I live here in Long Prairie. I still farm with my parents about 7 miles east of Long Prairie here. Like Brenda said, we raise about 100 beef cows and 70 head of sheep, depending on the years. Over the years, I've been serving on this committee since 2014. Rod Erickson appointed me when I moved back to town, and it's been excellent programs from both the 4-H extension, Leader Heidi, well, she's the newest one. I've worked with a couple since my time here, but then also with Brenda as the local extension officer. And speaking on Brenda's assistance to me, I try to stay up on state funding grants, things of that nature, Todd County soil water grants. So last year I wrote a grant for a no-till grain drill, and with the assistance and a very excellent letter of recommendation, I did receive that grant funding, which it was about $30,000 drill that I got half of it paid for through a state grant. And one of the big things with these grant opportunities is that you have to provide explanations of how you want to use the equipment, but they also want to know that you are using the resources that are provided, which includes for the extension committee and the extension officer. So I was able to use Brenda's letter of recommendation to do that. I'm actually in the grant pool right now for updating cattle handling facilities. Brenda also wrote me another nice recommendation. Hopefully, I was hoping to hear by today, but the due date for receiving notification if you receive the grant is February 5th. So if I do receive that grant, there'll be an additional $16,000 that would go towards our operation. And it's not just about the grant writing. I've attended several different leadership, farming conferences such as cow-calf days. I know Brenda had a nice lambing conference this last Saturday, which a few individuals that participated, including my uncle, which would have been interesting to listen to. He's been a sheep farmer for as long as I've known him, and a sheep shearer as well. And going back to on the other side, when it comes to the 4-H, I was in 4-H as a kid, learned a lot of very important things, not just from showing cattle, but being involved in different boards and committees over the years. So it's been an excellent program for me to be involved with. They're always very helpful, from reaching out from Tony to Brenda to Heidi and that team over there. And can't forget about Kristen too. She's, if you need anything done for any sort of program, she's on top of it too. Go ahead.
Does anybody have any questions for Ted? Okay. So I'll just highlight some things that have been going on over the last year and what's in the works for 2026. So we have our flagship programs like Cow Calf Days and Breakfast on the Farm and all those things in about a 5-month period here between November and March. We have 5 big programs. And the first one was Everything Equine and Wine in November. And I've never done a horse program before, so that was a whole new ball game for me, but it was a lot of fun. I learned quite a bit. And some things too that we talked about actually relates to some of our beef and dairy farmers too when it comes to like making hay. And horses are a lot more finicky on what they eat for hay versus a beef cow. But that was really good. And I think that'll be a program that will, it's kind of a road show, and it's not going to be an every year thing, but maybe an every other year or an every third year. So a little bit of new programming for a different audience that I don't normally work with. Like Ted was saying, just this Saturday, we had a lambing and kidding workshop. It was a hands-on workshop. We had a small crowd, but it was really great. It was a 2-hour workshop, and it ended up being about 3 to 3.5 by the time we were all said and done. So we had 2 very veteran sheep producers. One was Ted's uncle, and they were extremely helpful assisting Dr. Angie with putting this on and just giving some real life scenarios and what they've experienced, and that really helped the people who hadn't been in the business quite as long. So that was great. That's something that we are going to continue to do. It might not be lambing and kidding, but it might be a different topic, but for our small ruminant producers. January 27th is our annual Staples Cow Calf Days. That's for our beef farmers. In March, we're doing a coop conversation. So another topic that I haven't really done a whole lot of in-person programming, so for our poultry folks. So we're gonna be having a poultry workshop. And then I'm also involved with the Annie's Project, which is, I should say Annie's Project Virtual. I'm on that team, and that's a 6-week program that people can take to learn more about some leadership things and farm management. So every night we have a different topic, whether it's financial or communication or whatever. But all those things are coming. We're still working on Breakfast on the Farm, and then I'm also assist the Crow Wing County folks with their brisket on the farm. So lots of different programs coming for the year. You guys all got the email with all of the upcoming events, which is a little bit overwhelming, but we are heavy into conference, workshop, that sort of season. And once we get into, hopefully, March, April, farmers will get into the field, so things will slow down on that line of stuff. So with that being said, TED is just one example of a way that I assist farmers in the area. There are many others, and I'm always here and happy to answer any questions that come my way.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yeah.
Brenda, where do they find these grants? Because I know Ted has talked about them before, so if someone's listening or want to get involved with the grants, where do you find them?
Yeah, so I mean, you can look at the Department of Agricultural website. Once you get in there, there's a spot where you can look for grants, loans, and other opportunities. So they have a list of that. I also, if you reach out to Todd County Soil and Water, they can set you up with a link or an email reminder. So throughout the year, I'll get some reminders of these grant openings and closings that you can access at that point. And then, yeah, that usually helps, like with the grain drill I'd referenced. That went through Todd County Soil and Water because that helps with them. They want to improve soil and water health. Right. So there was assistance from that department there to write this grant and submit for that. But otherwise, yes, Department of Agriculture has those, and Brenda might have some other sites too.
Yep, so that's the Minnesota Department of Ag, and there's actually a little button you can click on there that you can subscribe to their newsletter, and you'll get a notification whenever the grants are open or, you know, if they're closing soon. But there is a tab on there that says business loans and grants that you can check out. And there's a whole list of them for lots of different things.
And they come different times of the year then?
Yes, yep. Yep, so there's ones, the livestock investment grant that was open this fall. 2 of them just closed, which was the extreme weather grant and, the one with the avian influenza. So like, let's say you want to protect your poultry operation or even your dairy barn to get some like bird deterrents in there, you could apply for that. But there's ones value added. So let's say you're a dairy farmer and you want to build a cheese plant, something to process that main product into something else. So there's lots of different ones just depending on what you're looking for. And they're always up there to look at and read about. It's just their opening periods are at different times throughout the year.
From what I can, you would be a good contact person.
I can certainly help out folks who want to know more about that or point them in the right direction.
Very good, thank you.
Great. I just wanted to, my own personal comment here is I sit on the board with, or I participate on the board with the team, and it just seems to me like programs like this drive success in our youth and our, our young farmers, as described by Ted, and so the measure of success is, it's great. It's amazing, I mean, there's so many other things that distract us that this program seems to be a real winner. So keep doing the good work. I thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And it's really exciting to see farmers like Ted who are going through the farm transition process and getting that next generation on those family farms to keep those, the land and the livestock going.
All right. Everybody else good?
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Tony, Brenda, Fred. Have a good day.
Mr. Chair, since the 9.1 was removed, it appears that the attorney's office has someone present.
Sure. You talked 7-1? Hi, Sonia, are you ready? Can you be? Thank you. Thanks for jumping in the ring here. So this is the 2026 agreements for prosecution services.
Sonia, you just need to read the board action into record. You need to read the board action into record.
All right, let me see if I can, better to see over here. So where do I start? This is my first time presenting.
You want to read this line and then the background and the recommendation.
Okay, so it's the action is for the 2026 agreements for prosecution services. The background is proposed 2026 agreement for prosecution services for Bertram, Graygill, West Union, Browerville, Clarissa, Eagle Bend, and Hewitt. Your options are to approve or reject. Recommendations are Todd County Board of Commissioner approves the following motion, approves the 2026 prosecution services contracts with the cities of Bertram, Graygill, West Union, Browerville, Clarissa, Eagle Bend, and Hewitt. The only one missing here is Bertha.
Yeah.
We're waiting on their signed contract to come back, and I'll present that when we get it back. But they will sign it again.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we added this year Browerville.
Browerville's new.
Yep.
Good deal.
Good ad. Love the Browervillians. Okay, so what we have,
Can I ask a question before you ask for a motion?
please.
Cost-wise, is it the same or did it increase or?
It's the same this year.
Okay. Thank you.
And it will save the Browerville city a few $1,000s.
Like it.
Good.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's see if we got a motion to approve.
I'll motion to approve the 2026 agreement for prosecution services as listed.
Perfect. Commissioner Noska's got a motion. A second would be needed to continue.
I can second.
Barb has a second. Commissioners, any other discussion for prosecution or legal team? Okay, I'm hearing no further discussion. We'll take a voice vote All in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sonia.
Okay, and next on the list would be planning and zoning. Agenda item 10 for those that are watching far and away.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So the first item here is just informational stuff in the packet for the upcoming item. So if you want to go to the next one, the Taylor CUP. Is where we'll start. Right there, yep. Taylor CUP. Okay. So this is the Taylor request for CUP amendment, an application to amend CUP number C20080512696 on parcel 03008202 in Birchdale Township was submitted on November 5th. The request was to amend condition number 5 to increase the capacity of the site from 14 to 22 people. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the January public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to grant the amendment. Options are to grant the amendment as requested, deny the amendment, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. And the recommendation is to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and grant the amendment as requested.
So 10-2 here, right? Taylor request for cup amendment as described in the board action form.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And we got a second, and move along. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Again, this is another facility that brings people into Todd County to enjoy our county, so it's a good thing.
Well, I'll add to that as well. During the meeting, she gave a very good presentation. Just welcome everyone to come check it out and come stay, and they have, it sounded like it was very, very well kept and very well done, so.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. I love this. So we got a motion and a second. Let's take a vote. Anybody, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Continue on.
Yep, the First Creek edition. Yep. Okay, and this is for the First Creek Edition preliminary plat, an application for subdivision to create a 6.47 acre 6-lot plat on parcel 0300194000, also in Birchdale Township, was submitted on December 12th. The application was reviewed by the Planning Commission during the January public hearing, and the final recommendation from the Planning Commission was to approve the preliminary plat with the conditions below. Options are to approve the preliminary plat with the conditions, develop findings to deny the preliminary plat, or remand it back to the Planning Commission for further consideration. Recommendation would be to adopt the findings of the Planning Commission and approve the preliminary plat with the following conditions. 1, new access shall be approved by the township. New accesses from the township road shall be approved by the local township prior to installation. 2, property owners must obtain appropriate permitting as necessary from other governmental agencies, including but not limited to the Sauk River Watershed District. And 3, that the applicant must abide by all other applicable federal, state, and local standards.
Okay, 10.3 is the First Creek Edition preliminary plat. And looking for a motion to move this forward.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that again, too.
Okay,
I'll second that.
and we got a second? Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Bert and Judy are damn good people, and I'm glad they're lotting their farm off. So.
Is this the one across the street across the road from the lake?
Yeah, it's non-riparian lots. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion, we'll take a vote. Those in favor can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Agenda item today, 11, is the administration team. And we'll start with the establishing a minimum salaries for elected officials for next term.
All right, Minnesota statutes require the setting of the minimum salary for county auditor treasurer, county recorder, county sheriff, county attorney, and county commissioners for the next term in 2027. So this coming year will be the filing notice for those 4 positions as well as open county commissioner positions for 2027. Your options would be to approve the attached resolution setting the elected officials' minimum salary or to do not approve. And the resolution that's attached, maybe you can bring that up, Denise. So what we're looking at is we can set the salaries on the elected officials at a lower range once a person files and then is accepted into the position. The board does have the option to increase the salary, but you cannot go below what we are passing today. So the resolution establishes minimum salaries for elected county officers. And I'll just kind of jump down. You can see the different statutes that relate to each of the 5. Whereas each of these elective positions are scheduled for general election on November 3rd, 2026, with terms of office that will begin January 4th, 2027. And whereas Todd County has an adopted grade and step pay plan as the basis for salary compensation, now therefore be it resolved, the minimum salaries are hereby established as follows. County attorney at $100,000, county auditor treasurer $75,000, county recorder $60,000, county sheriff $95,000, and county commissioner $36,312. So be it that further resolved that Todd County Board reserves the right, as set out in the above cited statutes, to set the salary for any or all of the above offices for 2026 at whatever it deems appropriate, so long as it is at or above these minimums. And these amounts are actually as low or lower than was set 4 years ago by the board. So again, we're keeping them minimum with the opportunity then to go higher if you deem that necessary.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we need to get a motion to approve these minimum salaries. So people that are running for office in 2026 know what they might or may not get paid.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
As an elected official, I'm just questioning the third whereas Todd County has adopted grade and pay schedule for the basis salary. The elected officials are not on the pay grade study that was just done. So I'm just questioning if that should be in there.
That's true.
That may need to be removed.
It's just a question I have because I know we asked, some of us elected asked if we could be on that study and we could not, so.
They need to be removed.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should have to, because there's no grade and step plan for any elected officials. None of us have we don't step every year. What's that? Right. Yeah, right, absolutely, yep.
Can we make that change? So we would look for a motion to approve with the change as described.
Commissioner,
Go ahead.
Reading, I got your personnel minutes this morning, and according to that, it was set the same as last year except for a 10% raise. Is that correct?
No, I think we went back down, didn't we?
We had further discussion and decided to even go just a bit lower.
Oh, because my question was, the commissioner salary might be higher than what they actually be getting.
The commissioner amount is what was set for the current
For the
year.
current,
That's
okay.
the amount that is
Okay, and
current.
that's why I was questioning that 10%, they'd be more, because we're
Yeah,
not taking a 10% raise.
Right.
Person at the meeting, that we talked about increasing it, and then with further discussion, I think with input from, I don't know who it was, but someone, we went back, we were not gonna do 10% plus, so.
Yeah, we gathered input from some of the other counties, county administrators and county coordinators, just to
So to clarify, 36,312 for commissioners is the current
current salary.
number.
Okay.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, I'm here for no further discussion. We need a motion. Did we get a motion already? I lost track.
No, not yet.
Okay, well, we need a motion to approve, like I said, with the change of the removal.
I'll motion to approve it with the removing whereas Todd County has adopted pay step plan.
Okay.
Just strike that line out and approve as is.
You've heard the motion to approve with the strike. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing no discussion, take a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good discussion. Good work. 11.2. 2026 pay equity compliance.
Yes, the board action form I have is for 2026 pay equity compliance. Background on this board action form is the Local Government Pay Equity Act and Minnesota Rules Chapter 3920 require political subdivisions to maintain compliance with pay equity standards. The administration department has completed the required pay equity analysis and submitted to the state of Minnesota, which generated a preliminary compliance report. According to this preliminary report, Todd County is under compliance. Before the pay equity report can be formally submitted to Minnesota Management and Budget for final compliance approval, the county board must approve the attached report. And then your options would be approve the 2026 pay equity compliance report or do not approve. The recommendation would be to approve the 2026 pay equity compliance report. Denise, if you want to schedule or scroll down to the compliance report, just a little background on pay equity. Each county or company has to pass 3 of the tests to be in compliance with pay equity. Given our ratio of male, females, and whatnot, we have to pass the nope, you're good right there. Underpayment ratio, which has to be above 80%. So we are good there. And then the salary range test has to have results of 0 or 80% and above. And the exceptional service pay test has to either be at 0 or 80% and above. So those 3, as of now, what we have submitted, we're in compliance, but the state has the official last say.
All right, questions? All right, hearing no questions at this point, we'll ask for a motion to approve.
So move.
Thank you. Commissioner Newman, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Denny gets a second. Ask for discussion one last time.
I guess there's a lot of things on here a person would like to dig deeper in.
And once we submit, Commissioner Becker, once we submit final approval for compliance, we get more reports from that. Like, there's more that they send us back.
Okay,
Like, we get some graphs and some other numbers and whatnot.
because there's a lot of questions, I guess, but.
It seems there's a lot, to me, there's things that I'm not, schooled on.
Yes.
So
At the first look, it's just
potentially like a pre-work sessions in the future for, just for understanding or whatever, kind of like the whole idea, what is this and what is that, and a lot of acronyms.
Yeah, and the thing of it is this came out Friday, and Monday was a legal holiday. So, I mean, we get this Friday after, everybody's out, and we have our meeting this morning, so there's not much time for any communications to happen, so, yeah.
Very
When
true.
the final report comes back from the state of Minnesota, we could bring it to a work session to go through the data
Appreciate that.
in
I think it would be
depth.
good.
Okay, any further discussion? I'm hearing no further discussion. We do have a motion and a second, so we'll need to take a vote. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Last agenda item before adjournment is standing reports, and we'll begin with Auditor Treasurer report.
Today I have to report that we have some elections coming up that I continue to talk about, but it's just good public notification. Osakas School District special election will be held February 10th. 21 of our 28 county townships will hold their officer elections on March 10th. Little Falls School District has filed for a special election for an April 14th date, and Staples Motley School District special election now will be held April 14th as well. So they got all those in under the wire.
Right down to the wire, huh?
Yep, filing date to request a
Okay.
special election.
Anything else?
Nothing else to
Thank
report
you
today?
very much. And county coordinator, please.
I attended Personnel Committee, a lot of employee interviews I was part of, meetings on PAYCOM, Wellness Committee, and Department Head meeting.
Busy, busy, busy. Okay, commissioners. Randy, you want to start us out?
Yep, on 8th, attended solid waste facilities meeting. Also attended Rainbow Rider. They're making progress on new bus barn in Alec, but they're still waiting for some material that's on back order, so hopefully that'll come in soon. On the 12th, did interviews for the HR position, and we did find a good candidate, which we approved this morning, so hopefully we can get her up and going. On Wednesday, attended the park board meeting. DNR will be in here, I believe, the 3rd of February.
Who, Mike?
What?
Mike's coming?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 3rd of February, so we'll be having a discussion on that. And then today I got AIS and that, and then I will be sharing some emails that I received from some constituents concerning supporting Sheriff Allen. You guys can make your own mind up once you get them, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Becker?
Yes, I had Rainbow Rider on the 8th, and then our Todd Wadena Corrections meeting was canceled this month, so we'll have it next month. And then I went to the West Central Regional Juvenile and Moorhead meeting. We did do a tour of their facility, which was the first time I've ever got into the facility and did the tour. I've got, our bed usage is up 2%. I've got all the paperwork here. They were kind of disappointed on the state, where the state is standing, because they were hoping to build the residential facility in Moorhead to add to it. So the other thing, I was able to visit with Kurt from Otter Tail and also Michael from Otter Tail County, which Michael accepted the position to help our community corrections with. So it was a good time that I had a short visit with them also.
How's the staff for Wadena or the corrections? They feel like they're, they haven't had much leadership in the last month or two.
No,
So I
but
imagine they're kind of.
Michael said when I visited with him, he spent one day in Long Prairie already with the staff. Very positive about it. Kurt was very positive with the Otter Tail County Commissioners, because they had just approved it, because this was last Thursday, so. Yeah, I mean, everything seemed to be
Good. I heard he was in here. so.
positive, yeah.
All right. I got it. Okay. Tim?
I had the Fair Board meeting, that was good that night, moving forward on booking all their venues for that. Personnel, department head meeting, a little bit, got some few hiccups with Paycom, which Nellie was good about helping work through that. We might offer another training session, sounds like, just for see where people are at, update them on a few things and get some questions answered, which would be great. Other than that, yeah, I was happy to approve an HR manager, so thanks for everybody who was on that committee and all your input. That was greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah, as Barb mentioned, we did cancel that community corrections meeting for this month just due to not a ton of things to approve and some board members being absent and under the weather. But we were able to get Mike on, which is, I had to sign that contract last week, so it was great to see that we'll get some relief for our supervisors and for Megan over there. So yeah, happy to have that. We also had Development Corporation last week. And we were still working on Paycom at the time, so it was kind of a few hiccups, slowly moving process with them. But moving forward, we'll be working with a different team from Paycom, so it's hopefully we can keep progressing in the right direction and things work out well moving forward.
Perfect. Okay, let's see, I had Soil and Water on the 8th. Always a great meeting. They run really good meetings there. TCDC with Lou on the 12th, interviews with Randy and everybody on the 12th. Personnel on the 12th, and then the 14th, we had Parks and Trails that night. Getting through this stuff, and then department head meeting on the 14th, so a couple people mentioned Paycom, and I know that our administrative team's looking at it. My opinion has always been if you have some major big change, it's really important on a pretty frequent basis after that to get your training, retraining, just everybody learns at different paces, and so I think they're looking at doing that, so it should help our employees and staff out and department heads who have to approve everything, so. That being said, that's the end of my report for my stuff, and I would entertain an adjournment. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Wonderful. And a second, please? Seconded by Commissioner Denny. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed? We are adjourned, and we will come back for work session in about 5 to 7 minutes, if we could, please. Thank you so much.
And Representative Weiner just texted me, he's running a little late.
Is he?
Yep, so he'll be here.
Yeah, he's not due to 10:45, so.
Mike Buffer, let's get ready to rumble. Okay. Good, good morning again. It's, time is 10:03, 10:04, something like that. Tuesday, January 20th, 2026. We're going to begin our Board of Commissioners work session agenda. We have 5 agenda items. We're going to start with 2025 permitting report from Adam Osford, our Divisional Director for Planning and Zoning.
Yes, this is just a report that has been requested to bring up to work session each year, just to kind of see the trends of permits and related revenue to those permit types. So I put this together, and if there's any questions or anything, otherwise I just wanted to come up and share it and answer any questions you guys had related to it.
Okay, commissioners. Should we look through this and?
The only one thing I did want to point out on the second page on the splits combining and adjusting line, you only see the last 3 years of fees there. That we did not implement a fee until 2023. So that's before that we were doing those free of charge. So that's why you see blanks before that.
Looks like it's been a busy year. Or it was a busy year.
Yeah. The septic stuff has, if you look, a couple of years ago, we were at 180 permits and it's kind of dwindled. I think that's just a side effect of the cost of doing systems, and people maybe aren't building quite as many new houses, but still it's right in line. You can see pretty consistent over the years of how many permits we've issued.
Didn't we have like a kind of a compliance initiative a few years ago?
Yeah, that was actually before I started here around the lakes and stuff.
It was probably still progressively gaining from that.
Those things slowly get done, and we send reminder letters, and we of course send violation letters and stuff.
Right.
But a lot of those are just systems that are failing or new systems. I would say like maybe 2/3 of the systems that are done each year are replacements of existings, and about 1/3 are new ones.
If I could add too, I think also that we have money available to help with the septic systems.
Yes, we do. The issue with that is the cost of the systems have increased dramatically. The grant funding has not. So where we used to maybe help 6 people or 6 families, we can maybe help 3 or 4 now. We did a few years ago have a separate pot of money, just kind of a one-off year where we got a larger pot of money that we played by the same rules with, where we did a bunch of systems. Those couple of years to spend that down, but that's since gone away. So we usually are in the maybe 30 to 45,000 that we get each year for septic funding. We don't take staff time or anything from that. We just turn that straight into cost share for low-income families to access that.
So is the total permitting activity, if you look at 2020, the last 5 years, you've got those high years of 2021, 23. That's all the whole exodus of people coming from other areas and moving to rural America or buying land in rural America and putting in a fire ring and a 4-wheeler?
And that could have been part of it, is just those post-COVID years when we thought there would be a lot less activity was not true at all. People were very busy building stuff.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, I got a question on this. So as far as the septic system designs and stuff, you have a breakdown on how many are on the lakes and how many are
More
residential, rural residential?
I don't have that. I probably could sort that out, though. Okay.
I'm hearing some concerns from the Lake Association about some systems on Lake Osakis that aren't up to code and.
Sure. I could sort something out with that and send it in an email out to everybody. If you want me to try to dig it into it a different way or something, just let me know. But I can probably sort something out that at least give you a rough idea of kind of how many are permitted in each area.
All right, any other questions? Been a busy year, but looks like it was manageable too, so. Okay, I don't hear any other questions, Adam, thank you. I think you gotta sit down and stay there, though. We got one more project here for you, the number 2, the Board of Adjustment Use of Earth Assessment.
So the background on this, I think you guys have seen this earth assessment sheet that the Soil and Water put together. If you're familiar with the Ag Water Quality Certification Program, that focuses on agricultural land. And so Deja's vision with this was to have some sort of assessment for lakeshore owners or people that live in the city that kind of assesses their property on their environmental impact. The Board of Adjustments has seen this, and we had a discussion at 2 recent Board of Adjustment meetings about using this in the application process to help analyze variance applications. So and then we did the legal review on this, talked with Jason, and in order to make that a part of our application, we have to make a minor ordinance amendment to include this as part of our application requirement that this be done. We have some details to work out on how we're going to actually implement this, whether the landowner would fill it out or we would have staff go on site and work with the landowner to get the assessment done. But really, in order to make amendments, our process has always been to come to a work session and get that informal thumbs up to move forward with it. And so that's why I'm here today, is just to have that discussion and get some direction on thoughts from the commissioners here on whether we should implement this as part of our application process. This would not change anything about how we grant variances, but it would provide much more detailed information of what's happening on the property and making those decisions and to help establish conditions of the approval.
Okay. Questions? Do we see all the 6 questions, or do I see 1 question?
Oh, yeah, it's 6 pages, 4? No, more than that.
6 it says, right?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, there's way
There's a
more.
total of 31, I think, questions. Yeah. And they range from vegetative cover, from like buffers, trees, septic system compliance, how much impervious surface is there, and then yard maintenance, things like that. So it's a wide range of questions that that's gone through to develop essentially a score of where that property is at.
So you commissioners with no lakes, you're really lucky.
Who's got no lakes, Randy?
You got lakes, you got lake.
I know, there's a pile of them over
Beauty
in mine.
What is considered, like, the question 1 was like lake shore property? Is that, you talking footage or are you talking acreage?
Which one are you looking
Question
at?
number 1. If you
Question
could
number
scroll
1.
back to number 1, the very
The
first
one-
question. Start from the top.
What percentage of the shoreline property contains buildings, patios, driveways, parking areas, or other impervious surfaces?
The whole acreage? Or
Yeah, so
whatever?
we take the square
lot?
footage of the lot and then square footage of impervious surface and figure out what percentages is covered.
Gotcha.
And Mr. Chair, try to implement this is just like, there's no way in hell. Everybody wants their yard mowed right to the lake, nice and green, fertilize the hell out of it. So,
I saw one question that asked if you collect your grass clippings, or if you throw them in the lake, or you throw them back, or what do you do with them? Question number 30, I just had.
Right.
I guess I've got a question too, which is interesting because we have a creek that runs through our farm, the whole length of our farm. So it would be shoreline, correct? Off of a creek?
I would
off of
have
a
to
river?
look on a map and confirm that. I'm assuming based on what you're
Off of
describing,
a
yeah, there'd be a
river?
shoreline zoning of
be.
it.
It is. So how does this relate to someone in the ag world? I mean,
It's a really good question. I may not know the answer off the top of my head. I think you'd be looking at more of the Ag Water Quality Certification Program, which look, it's kind of a similar concept, but focuses on the ag practices. And I think there is, a buffer component review of that in your nutrient management planning and tillage practices and crop rotations and all those sort of things would apply more in your scenario, where this is more of your traditional residential lot on a lake.
but it doesn't designate that. It says shoreland. It doesn't say
Sure.
lake, it doesn't say small acreage, there's a
That's,
difference.
sure, and that's a really good question. We may, I mean, the scenario where we see a variance request in agricultural areas is pretty limited, but those are some of the details that we'd have to work out of how we apply this. If there are scenarios where this is just meaningless to the variance application, we'd have to exempt those. I didn't want to just
No,
move this.
but Adam, going back a few years ago, there was a dock put out on a swamp, and we had the DNR involved. Shoreland.
Yes.
I mean, and these things come into, I mean, to me, that was ridiculous what was happened at that proceedings, and I think Tim was involved in that also. So I
Are
mean,
you involved?
yeah,
And so, and
careful what we do with this.
right, and this would only be in case, well, this is a voluntary thing from the soil and water side. This would only be required when a landowner's applying for a variance. It doesn't apply in any other scenario.
So just walk me through the process. We got it now in front of us, 31 questions, which I'd like to go through it detail, maybe not at this exact second, but what do you need from, what do you want us to do, like dissect? Because we don't want to build something that we can't follow or we can't police. It's
Right.
kind of like we talked at the department head meeting. If we have a lot of things we say we're going to do, but we can't execute them, let's not put them in
Sure.
writing, or let's not do them, you know what I mean?
Right, and that's I didn't want to get this going down the road if there was no support for this. So those are some of the things that we really have to iron out yet. But this would just be a part of the application packet. So a person comes in, gets an application, fills out what their name, address, phone number, what their request is, all the stuff that's in our regular application, pays the fee. This isn't supplementary information in that packet.
So maybe, I'm just thinking through, give me a second, you good? Okay, you guys good? Okay, so you know where I live, right?
Yes.
I'm there and I want to rip wrap my shoreline. So I'd have to go through this.
No.
Potentially. Well, actually mine is wrapped already, so I probably don't need a variance, but if I ask for a variance on my land, whatever it is,
Yep,
I would go through this 31 questionnaire, right?
right.
So for me, as a residential shoreline, lake shore owner, I might have specific questions that are really, really relevant, some that are like not even, Number 3, when boats docked are stored on shore, are they stacked or elevated? I mean, that sounds like something for a resort to me, but maybe I'm wrong. So maybe it's, you have a, residential shoreline, you got a resort owner, you got a swamp owner, you got a river owner, whatever, right? There'd be a lot of, am I marking up the wrong tree here or not?
That shoreline is the prod, opens it
I'm just,
right up.
as direction as as a lakeshore owner, I'm like, ooh, shoot, how much, I would want to know which ones apply to me, and maybe it's specific by
And
your definition or our definition.
specific to requesting a variance, this would be filled out in its entirety, we'd get a score, but it would not necessarily lead to a specific result. So this is just supplementary information that the Board of Adjustments would use to say, okay, we're gonna add another structure here, and they're requesting an increase in impervious surface beyond the 25%. We know we need to establish certain types of conditions to address or mitigate for those adverse effects as a result of granting the variance. Or you go through this and the score is super low already and we're looking at a request to add more impervious surface. I think this is further documentation to support the denial of that variance.
Well, just
But
so,
you
just
first-
so, just so the score I'm getting is relevant to my shoreland. I don't want to be erosion category, erosion control, because, ice heavers, I'm not sure what I'm, I'm just saying, as long as me, or any resident that's buying lakeshore, or varying their lakeshore or their river shore, or whatever, it's got to be specific to them, because I don't want to get dock points for something that really isn't relevant to me. I'm just, help. From a constituent standpoint, that's what I would be thinking.
Sure.
And another question I would have, so let's say we would approve something like this. Can planning and zoning or the other organizations, can they say, no, we're going to make this mandatory and we're going to count at the votes? I mean, do they have the right to say, no, we're going to you have to have a number, boom?
Not like a score of a certain number?
Yes.
Okay, that's a great question, and we did ask that, and no, we can't establish conditions to say they get a 300 and we grant a variance. We can't say we'll grant it, but within a year you have to have a 400. We can't establish conditions in that way. We can look at it and say, you have a score of 300 and some of the categories you're lacking in are these, so we can establish conditions specific to those type of practices on the landscape that would then, in theory, improve their score, but it's not directly to the purpose of increasing the score.
So, Mr. Chair, as a county, we are owners of 2,200 feet of lakeshore on Lake Osakis, which is Battle Point. So, you start looking at this thing and saying, okay, is the county board gonna tie their hands if we wanna do anything out at the park with this? The park is for the people. And we gotta think about that. So you start throwing that in there and it changes a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
May I make a suggestion?
Go.
To give you some more time to think about and look at this, I'd be happy to bring this back whenever the next meeting is. I also think it might be helpful if I brought one of the Board of Adjustment members with me too to talk about, because this was brought forward by the members themselves. So maybe asking one of them to come along and maybe answer some of those questions. I'd be happy to get that organized.
If it's really useful and it helps the Board of Adjustments out and it's makes sense to everywhere, that's great. But if it's unexecutionable, we can't really man it, whatever, then we're looking at just another boondoggle.
Yep, because I sit on Sauk River Watershed Board, and this has been similarly brought up. They are trying to get all the counties within the Sauk River Watershed all on the same page as far as ordinances and everything else. And it just, you get a page like that of Douglas County's got different rules than Todd County. Todd County's got different rules than Stearns County. And you throw Meeker County in there, you throw Pope County in there. So they're all different, but they're trying to get us all on that same page, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Right.
We're different counties, so.
Yeah, I would suggest, I'm great with bringing it back and having, if you have someone that would want to talk to us and explain what they're, please, feel free.
Okay.
Good starting discussion, though. That was amazing.
Sure. Okay, I will plan to do that then and get it on an upcoming work session agenda again then.
Okay.
All right.
We'll look forward to it.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Agenda item 3 today is our Caseworks presentation. Jack Yak, who is our HHS Director and HHS Management Team.
Good morning, Commissioners, Mr. Chair. Just an early introduction to Caseworks. So generated a PowerPoint presentation for your review.
Ooh.
First is Caseworks, as you see, is infiltrated in many counties throughout the state. The green counties are where they are at currently, and the gray counties are where they are not. So Caseworks specializes in streamlining processes for health and human services teams. It's electronic document management system, which is also known as EDMS, using industry standards and security and encryption. It's an interoperable solution to expedite business processes, automate document management for every program in the area, improving caseload capacity, cutting costs, and eliminating errors. Caseworks is a software that improves compliance, reduces time-consuming tasks with record storage, retention, retrieval, and distribution. And again, this is a map where Caseworks is and is working well throughout the state of Minnesota as of January 13th. They just recently have started implementation in Morrison County. I think they might even be training this week. So, return on investment. Here's some examples of the return on investment. I underlined the savings and efficiency gained for each bullet point there, being around auto form filling, integrated e-signature, merge mailing, case file transfers, and then auto send copies throughout. And these examples were offered by the counties that have Caseworks. There's a page 2 to this as well. Again, for subscription, cost savings, claim, case, and resident portal. If you go down to the next page, you're gonna see this was their initial proposal. Caitlin was a part of this discussion with me as she's our accounting supervisor. This was just the raw numbers that they initially proposed. If you go to the next slide, this is where we really worked hard on our numbers and discounts with them. So this is really the meaningful, fiscally and financially meaningful document I wanted to bring in front of you. As you see, the total, the project fees, along with the discounts, when we first met with them, it was a pretty significant cost, and we whittled away in October and in December for a significant discount. And you're gonna see what the implementation cost and the expenses, but also with funding sources. Sourcewell is looking at changing some of their grants. I'm trying to think of how many years, I think it's been the last 10 years, we've received funding from Source around mental health. They're gonna, they have a board meeting that is coming up in February, I believe early February, and that a recommendation is instead of doing it as a multi-county project, it will be an individual project for each county to be able to spend those dollars locally on where they feel that it's best fit within their Health and Human Services Department. We, if that's approved by their board members in February, we'd like to take those dollars and invest it in casework to give it back to the department to increase operational efficiency. Denise, if you would go back one more, just go back to the previous slide. As you see in the bottom, that's something that I had asked Caitlin, you know, just we want to keep in front of us. We'd like to keep a 5-month fund balance. We believe we can fully support this product, the software, by our own fund balance, our combined fund balance. We like to keep 5 months. And I said, you know, it ebbs and flows as time passes, but where were we at the end of the year? We're above 5 months. And if we utilize the funds with the help of Sourcewell, we would remain above 5 months if approved by county board with the expenses. Next slide. There is a cost savings if we didn't do it over a 5-year approach. If we paid the fees up front, we'd be saving about $10,000. And you're gonna see the 2 highlighted areas where the cost savings would happen. When we initially started working with Sourcewell around the cost proposal, I said, what would it look like if we did it over 5 years? Because I don't know if we can afford it. And then so she proposed it over 5 years with the discount, but we also could have a cost savings if we could afford this or do this and pay for it up front. And our fund balance would be able to support that cost savings. Again, this is early introduction. I wanted to get it in front of you. Looking into 2026, there's a lot of things to consider. It places Todd County in a position to adjust with the federal changes, with the big beautiful bill related to the SNAP and Medicaid. We're gonna be seeing increased workloads starting in 2027. Our eligibility workers are gonna need to touch cases every 6 months versus every year as they do today. So that's gonna increase caseload sizes. It's gonna double their workload. Their error rate determinations are also changing for us with the big beautiful bill. That is going to be a significant cost to Todd County, and I'm gonna, with Representative Weiner here, I'll share that estimated cost lost for Todd County, but that is proposed to change in October of 2027. Those error rate determinations, the state has set forth what our error rate is, but it looks different than what we are, what the federal and the state don't match. The states can be more restrictive, not less. The state of Minnesota is more restrictive than the federal. So they are looking at possibly legislatively this year, matching with the federal because it's more restrictive. Our error rate, I believe, meets the federal guidelines. and the state guidelines, but not every county meets that, which is gonna come to a cost for us, because they do it as the state of Minnesota, not as an individual county. So there could be a significant loss to the county if we continue to follow the state error rate determinations. Again, like I'd said, the current, this would, if we maintained the current staffing patterns with the increased workload demands and requirements per the state changes, case managers will be expected to touch these cases more frequently than we had in the past, doubling our work without reimbursements to do so. I just wanted to mention there is a SNAP pilot project, that there is a lawsuit that is, the federal government had taken a couple of states and said, we'd like you to trial this or do this SNAP pilot project, Minnesota being one of them, of a handful. The project requires recertification, including in-person interviews of all SNAP households in Hennepin, Ramsey, Washington, and Wright counties within 30 days. They have to touch every case and recertify them within 30 days. Hennepin alone stated that they have 270 eligibility workers. It would take them 11, each eligibility worker in the office, not on leave, not on maternity, not, you know, with this new PFMLA law, 11 hours a day for 30 days to reprocess every recipient. Washington County would take 90 hours a week. They didn't tell us how many eligibility workers they have, but you know how large Washington County is. They would work with every eligibility worker 90 hours a week, 7 days a week to reprocess. This is in a system that's working. We are in a very antiquated system right now. I think, you know, our employees deserve a better system. It needs to be interoperable so we can do our work more efficiently. Time is money. And we would be spending more on our FTEs with an antiquated system than a interoperable, efficient system. So with that, I am, you know, again, this is an early introduction. I have the contract with CaseWorks. I am waiting to hear from Sourcewell whether they approve the change in the funding source so we could bring that back, because that's going to be a significant savings to Todd County if you would approve to go forward. But again, this is just a really early introduction to CaseWorks with more follow-up to come. A lot of information that I wanted to get in front of you, so I'm definitely open for questions. And I plan to come back in a work session with the contract and then hopefully with some follow-up from Sourcewell around their funding source, possible consideration.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yeah.
And Jackie doesn't know I'm going to speak about this, so I hope you don't mind.
No, I
This
don't.
casework salesman or company had reached out to my office middle of last summer. And of course, salesmen call all the time. And I was listening, and it just happened to be after a work session where Jackie had her staff up here talking about how much workload they're going to have with these mandates coming down that they already have now. And I listened to the gentleman, and he actually kept me on the phone for almost an hour, and I was like, I was enamored by the workload they can save in all these counties they were in. And I don't even know Jackie's world, and I was like, oh my gosh, this touches home for us. So I called Jackie immediately, and I said, this guy's gonna be reaching out to you. And instantly she goes, I know about this program. She goes, I'd love to get it, but financially, I don't know if we can swing it. And I said, Jackie, this is something we have to sit down with finance, because this is very important. And so I'm so elated that you worked on all of this, and you and Caitlin punched the numbers, because in my world, like I said, I don't work with Jackie, but being the financial officer for the county, I'm thinking this saves on staffing, this saves on all the hours they put in. I can't speak more highly of it, so thank you for bringing it to them.
We do believe we are going to have some FTE savings with that. I built that into the proposal as well. So with the gained efficiencies, there will be some staffing, you know, efficiencies built into that as well. Lot of work to do if it's approved by you all, but it will be worth our time. But with all of these federal changes coming, I just really hesitate to be working in an antiquated system when there's a better system out there that we, you know, our budget can support at this point.
How many counties was, all the green counties are using
All
it?
of them are listed there that have caseworks. Right.
Right. I mean, I, you know, just looked at the justification briefly, but is there any implementation costs that maybe are not in the justification currently, or, you know, like timeframes, training? We've learned with Paycom training, we have to, you know, you have the largest department, so you're gonna have to train people maybe more than once, maybe 2 or 3 times, and I guess I would like to see, just as you bring this back next time, are there any implementation costs, timeframes, training schedules, any recommendations from Matt or whoever, Morrison, Otter Tail? You know, just some testimonials that say, hallelujah.
I know. Well, the hallelujahs are on your ROI that are coming from the counties that are on the PowerPoint slides. Are also our implementation costs are already on that as well. So yes, there are implementation costs. They are built into the slide. Yes, there are significant return on investments, but we can definitely get those from Morrison County, who is just starting now, and Swift. I think they're in implementation with Swift County as well.
I'd like to see, you know, anything we can do programmatically versus human input should in the long run pay off.
And you know,
Work up front, but.
The representative from CaseWorks, like I said, we have gotten to know her fairly well. She has slated Todd County in, said this has got to be board approved. If all of the stars aligned and we get, and our board approves it and we get the letter commitment from Sourcewell, we could possibly consider mid-March, but that's if all of the stars align. And our commissioners approve this. So we are slated in for mid-March if approved by you all, but again, will have to be a moving target if there's a hiccup at all. And the sooner we do it, the larger return on investment we'll have for our county versus waiting with all of these changes through the big beautiful bill and needing to touch these cases.
Well, the other thing I was gonna mention, this applies to this project as well as any other department heads that are out there listening, is that going forward, it'd be really nice to have an org chart, head counts, and what that impact is visually. For me personally, as a commissioner, you know, you've got a lot of positions. And a lot of, I always keep talking about acronyms, and so understanding the domino effect visually is very helpful for myself at least.
And this is really a human services software. It is not a public health software. Public health is run through MDH. So this is really on the human services side, which is the larger, as you see, as our larger budget as well, so.
Okay. That's my comments. Anyone else?
Wait to hear more.
There are no comments. All right, next.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Keep on trucking. Agenda item 4 in our work session is C&D Regional Planning Update, and Chris and Con and Mike Abel are here from Solid Waste.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So as you may know, we started in, maybe it was early July, on a regional study for a 9-county C&D planning. And we just want to give you an update on some work that they've done, or we've done. First on the memo is, at the attorney's recommendation, he wanted to see a distribution of how we receive demolition waste. This table is for Todd County. It's for the last 5 years. I didn't really understand why he wanted this, but I do now that we've got it. It's a helpful tool. Just to explain it a little bit, what it's looking at is how do we receive the waste based on the size of the load? So that first row is less than or equal to 1 cubic yard. So when a customer comes in with like a pickup load, over that 5-year period, about half of the loads that Mike receives at the transfer station is just that small quantity. And that actually only adds up to 3% of the total waste, but it's still a lot of customers. And then you've got the next two that are still those small loads. So I'd say, you know, what does this matter? And what's striking to me and why I wanted to share it with you is, you know, as we look at a 9-county region and how do you do this, there are a lot of counties that are just saying, well, we might not do anything. And what I'd like to just share with you is that what I'm gonna call the 0 to 10 yard load to me are your residents and your small businesses. So if you do nothing, if we were to stop receiving demo waste, if we just do nothing, you know, you'd have, you know, 10,000 customers that are the residents and the small businesses that wouldn't have a simple solution. So you can make your own conclusions of it, but what I would like to share you to consider is that what that means is we need to continue providing an outlet for those people. Maybe more debatable is the larger loads, like the 40-yard loads at the bottom of that table. If you did nothing, someone can take a 40-yard roll off and take it a longer distance. There's a little more efficiency there. But that's just our first take in this memo. Just maybe stop and see if you have any questions or see if Mike has anything to add to that.
I think for us is, you know, operating a new facility and along with our recycling, when I did open mic session on the radio the other day, you know, we processed 21,000 customers in the year of 2025. So the value is all these small things that we're serving the residents. Some of that, if you know, the demolition numbers are pretty important because these are all the little mom and pop that are just coming to get rid of waste. It's a valuable asset for them to get rid of it. Otherwise, there's no outlet for it if we, you know, cease that operation.
Okay.
I'll keep moving along unless you have questions. The next page is some transportation costs. Some of the counties asked, you know, as we've been, I'm gonna call it, I don't wanna call it dreaming. As we've been thinking of some hypothetical situation, people are like, well, what is it gonna cost? So in the next phase of the work, our consultant put together some costs. Some of these are actual, some of these are hypothetical. So at the top row is Waste Management, Gwinner, North Dakota. Now, you're at the far other end of the region, so that may seem counterintuitive, but several of the counties use Waste Management. And if we were to, as a region, have all of our waste hauled there, the cost of disposal and transportation would be about $35, $36 a yard for everybody in the region. Now, I put this on here just to review a point that we've talked about before, but I just wanted to remind you that if Todd County was to bring their waste there, well, first of all, I wouldn't advise it, because as a standalone, you're on the opposite end of the region, and then you'd be paying about $4 more a yard, and that's because as we've contemplated this regional system, everyone would be paying the same transportation fee, so you wouldn't be punished because you're on the other end of geographically of the system of the final disposal location. We did look into DEMCON. DEMCON's closer, fees are less. We have just started talking with Disposal Services there in Wahpeton. Their cost is even more or less, and those top three are existing facilities that are already lined. And all those cost differences are primarily due to distance. It's really about trucking cost. Their tipping fees are very similar. So, you know, when you think about a regional program, really a lot of it comes down to that. For an existing private facility, it comes down to distance. The next two rows are some hypotheticals for a regional landfill that doesn't exist. So right now, we have two interested facilities that are existing that aren't regional. So the Becker County and the Fergus Falls landfills are both capable of being converted to a lined landfill. And if we imagine them running at a large scale, those are some prices. And you can see there's quite a range there. If we receive 70% of the waste shed, that means of all the waste in these 9 counties, if we can capture 70% of it, wow, it looks really good. It's 2289. That's very competitive. The clear advantage of a regional system is that you're not paying as much transportation cost because it's in the region. But then you see another number there is, what if you can't get that much of the waste? The cost goes up significantly. Again, this is all hypothetical. I'm gonna skip all the details and go to the bottom of this page and just wanna emphasize, no one will know actual costs until after several years of operation. And that would be for all of these, because private parties are hard to control. They're gonna raise their rates and you can't tell them not to. And as a regional program, having never run it before, there's a lot of things we're gonna discover as we go into that. So I hope that I'm gonna call it modesty in saying to you that we don't know everything. I hope that's well received, but I'm gonna pause now and just see if you guys have questions. I'm assuming that means it made sense, and I'm gonna move on to the next page. Capital improvements. So what we have talked about so far is about the cost of transportation and disposal. The way we've approached this regional program is that every county is responsible for their own improvements at their own site. I'm just gonna turn this one over to Mike if I could. I don't know if I asked you, but.
Sure.
What we would need to do at our facility.
Right. The one advantage of it, we have a new facility. The second big advantage for us is when we designed the facility, Chris and I already anticipated some of this going into when we built the facility. So the good thing is our processing is really not going to change. Our infrastructure's there. We added extra space and capacities to handle this if we do close our landfill. So that's one leg up that we have on a lot of older facilities that are going to have to maybe build infrastructure. Really for Todd County, switching over to our hauling system that is currently being used, we'd look at a minimal purchase of under a couple $100,000 for 2 trailers and we can just go to work. So we're far ahead compared to a lot of other counties that don't have the infrastructure to handle what we have. So the one good thing is I think, Stantec and Chris and myself, we anticipated this, so we at least, we have that facility built and ready to go.
So yeah, I would say of the 9 counties, you're probably in the best situation of all of them in that sense. Everyone's got a different story, but it makes for a nice situation for Todd County. Next thing is that idea of a regional landfill. I touched on this a little bit earlier. I don't have all the information for you, but what I have here is what we've gathered. The city of Fergus and Becker County have landfills that in theory could be converted. Fergus Falls does actually already have a liner and leachate collection. Both of those facilities only have about 1 million yards of remaining airspace. Now for an individual county to have 1 million yards is a lot, but for one landfill to serve 9 counties, now you're talking not enough. Because on the upper end of the spectrum, if this worked for 9 counties, that would translate to probably less than 10 years of service. So now you've got this great solution you made, but it dies in 10 years. We have asked Stantec to look at those facilities and give us an estimate of, is there something more you can do to this race car to make it go faster? Because what I've seen, at least in my preliminary review of Fergus Falls, is that when it was designed, they didn't maximize the potential for that facility. And the preliminary numbers that I've seen from Stantec show they could reasonably raise that to 4 million, which would be, it's a game changer. If that property if you can get 4 million yards out of it, now you might have 40 years of life. Now we're talking about something that's worthwhile. So we're still waiting for that information to come out final to share with you. We did not scope this project to select a facility. We're talking about it, but we don't want that to be the tail that wags the dog, where people say, you selected this landfill, so we're not gonna pursue it. Next step is looking at flow control. We're meeting with our attorney at our meeting tomorrow. We have a monthly meeting, and he's prepared some discussion points. And this gets back to that idea of if there's 250,000 cubic yards of demo waste in these 9 counties, if we do choose to do some regional program, and that could be us going together to bring it to a third-party private, or it could be running our own regional landfill. How do you get the waste? Because unlike MSW, we don't have waste designation, so we can't tell people to bring it to us. So there are some tools that Attorney Johnson has shared, and he's gonna be working more on that with us tomorrow. And we're gonna continue trying to vet these things out. So I've got some questions for you, but before I move to that, I'm gonna pause again and see if you have any comments or questions for me or for us.
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Chris and Mike for coming in. We discussed this last Thursday at our meeting. You know, the MPCA is coming down on landfills and requesting or requiring we need to have them lined. And if Todd County wants to line its landfill, we're talking millions of dollars. So, you know, we're looking at that regional concept and how it's gonna play out. I don't know, but, you know, again, when the state comes down and says, okay, we're gonna throw another requirement on you, it puts us counties in a kind of a scramble mode to figure out what the hell we're gonna do. Pretty much.
Right. And one little bit of information, just if we have to close tomorrow, we got roughly 5 years and probably 2 years to close. So that kind of gives you guys what we're up against as far as a time frame. So
Our current landfill has that time frame. Is that what you're saying? Our current landfill has that time frame, 5 years?
So according to, these are proposed rules, so they haven't been approved yet. The MPCA talks about them as if they're done in a lot of their narrative, but it has to actually go through an administrative law judge and through that final step. So without that, we have probably 30 or 40 years of life in our facility. But to Mike's point, if this spring they put this out for public notice and said effective today, their plan is that you have up to 8 years. Is that? That's,
Yep.
Yeah.
So is it the question about receiving, you know, waste from others really tied to that question, to the answer to that?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
Why do we keep receiving others?
From our
What are we
customers.
receiving from other places now?
We're just receiving it essentially from Todd County.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't, I mean,
That's what I'm saying, is why are we gonna keep putting other people's water in our pool when
right.
we might have a limited time frame? I won't put anybody else's water in our pool.
Right.
We do have a,
No opinion.
you know, and we don't, and this is where it gets a little bit sticky with all of garbage, is we have a fee schedule that says if you're from out of county, we charge you double.
Right.
So now we don't, I don't know how to say this, but it's not that easy to do. So I'm sure there's some waste that leaks into your county, if you know what I mean. You know, you can get people's driver's licenses, but then if they own multiple properties, that gets sticky.
So we're making more from when other people, whatever they bring, but still, we're still putting their water in our pool.
I'm sure it's true, and I'm sure it's going the other way as well. You know, where you're closer to Wadena, and I hear it from Wadena that they have people from Todd County that call and bring it in, and they say, well, Todd County lets us do this.
Right.
And we say, well, we're a different organization, and they say, well, so what do you mean you went there? And like, well, yeah, we live in Todd County. And they say, well, now your fee's double. It's an interesting conversation.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
Yeah, please.
So at some point, though, the state is going to tell us you need to close your landfill. You're done. I mean, that's.
Or spend millions of dollars
Or
converting it to
spend millions of dollars
yeah.
to update it. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, we've got so much capacity still available in there. And if they told us in 2 years, you need to close that thing.
Right.
Or update it, and we decide we're not going to update it or we're not going to make it compliant, so we're just going to close ours. Is it in our best interest to accept it from other places and fill it up?
No.
No, just
No.
as is? Okay.
Because like we talked about for contemplating our future system, it's very transportation dependent.
Okay,
So if you, lowered your rate in half, Otter Tail County customers are not gonna drive, if you're a local remodeler, you're busy to save $100, you're not gonna drive an extra hour to save $30. You know what I mean?
right. No, I understand that part, but I'm talking like a bigger transported load in just to,
Yeah.
so it's at capacity when it's closed.
Yeah.
Is that?
No.
No, not worth it? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, our nature is, we're here to serve Todd County,
Okay.
and we could go on some big campaign to get a bunch of revenue, and it might work, but it also creates a lot of confusion, because like right now, it's a long story, but operationally it would be very difficult.
Okay.
I've got a question. MPCA, they make the ruling themselves, it doesn't have to go through any state votes or anything, they just hand
That
it
is,
down to you?
that is correct, and as I understand it, there's statutes and there's rules, and this is based on a statute.
Okay.
And I think it's the rules that are more policy nature that the legislators work on. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't talk to each other, but,
Okay. Anything else?
So just some questions for you, and again, we're trying to make sure that we're dialoguing, because when we go to these meetings, we say, well, Todd County wants to do this, or Todd County wants to do that. We don't want to be talking Mike and Chris. We want to be talking Todd County. So as we have looked at it, we really see, especially with those smaller loads, but really with the new facility, the county is capable of providing that service, whether we're going to a private landfill or regional landfill or whatever, that we're gonna continue to do that. I have heard from other counties that are not. So we're trying to get this understanding of what these 9 counties think. So are you in agreement with that, or do you have any questions or disagreements with how that would work?
I mean, the numbers tell me that this is a vital service to our residents.
Absolutely, yeah.
You said 10,000, I think you said 10,000, roughly the percentage is 40%, whatever.
Right.
That's a large volume.
No, I don't want to call it tribalism, but I take care of my own backyard before I go looking for more land.
And our staff are
Just my
there
opinion.
receiving all that other waste to remove one item really doesn't change our business, so, or to keep that item. The other thing that I've put in here, and I'm kind of, again, spoon feeding you our ideas, and we want to make sure that we're consistent with you, but should we advocate for maximizing use of our landfill before before transfer waste to a regional landfill? And that gets back to, I think, Commissioner Noska's point. We're not looking to market it. We just don't think that it would go well. But what the rules are as drafted is you have 0 to 8 years to close it. And they've given you some incentives to close it early. But as we've seen the math, it takes time to change. And we have a good landfill that we don't have these additional expenses for. We want to use it for the next 8 years and use that money as we're building it to pay for the closure of it as well.
Sounds like they're still tread on the tires. Why are we gonna take them off?
That's right.
Right.
Keep them growing
Yep.
till she falls off.
Third bullet is, and I think this one's where I would really love to hear from you, because I really don't have an opinion. Preference for third-party or regionally co-owned landfill. If it was the same cost to you, which one would you use? I would really like to know, because it's more work for us to build a regional landfill and run. And there's some convenience to a third party, but you've lost control because you just get their fee schedule
That's what
every
I was
year.
gonna say. We could set our own fees then, though, if it was regionally
Yes, sir.
owned. So even the inconvenience of setting it up and developing it may be worth the assurance that you know what it's gonna cost and there's no Sticker shock
I don't want to
someday.
be over a barrel with any county or any regional or anybody. I'd rather control our own destiny. That's one person.
And all I can say, Chair, is with the scale of things, you know, you guys process like less than 10,000 yards a year. If the commissioners of the board would like to build a line facility, we can do it. You got the real estate, we can do it. But I could tell you from the numbers that we see is that, like, you'd be off the charts here for cost. Like, so these numbers here are in the $35 a yard range. I've met with the city of Fergus Falls, that's where I live. They've come to Otter Tail County and said, would you please buy our landfill? Right now, their tipping fee is $48 a yard. And right now, what they're doing doesn't meet the new rules requirements. That rate for them will have to go up to probably $60 a yard to break even. So that's where we've maybe not talked a lot about that with you, but if you wanted just to live in your county and fully take care of yourself, we could do that. But the data we have so far, you know, it would be a significant expense. So if you would love to hear more from you, would you prefer us, if it was the same cost, go to a third party or have a regional landfill?
I think if we go regional, Mr. Chair, we would have to have good discussion, you know, the full boards of the counties that are gonna participate in it. You know, we've did that before with Prairie Lakes, where, you know, all 5 commissioners from each county, we all got together, sat down, had a good conversation about stuff, so that would probably be the next step, I would say, is if we're gonna go down that regional road.
If you'd like, we could ask and pursue setting up a meeting. I mean, we have till June to finish this study, and there'd be 45 of you, and we would work on an agenda to make it a productive and organized meeting, but.
Put me on that board. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess I share, I mean, a lot of the same, I agree with you guys talking earlier about not giving up your control and just being subject to pay the bill. I don't like that. And I also like to have a say in how we regulate things and whatnot, how it's done. But also with the Prairie Lakes, that's always a successful partnership we have together with them. And I've seen that work out really well for us. And yeah, I guess it's just so much more information is needed on that regional percentages owned and whatnot, and in a location, and then more of the trucking. But I mean, I would like to explore that idea further, more than a third party option. I guess that's my opinion.
I would lean that way myself.
Sure.
Well, if I heard it right, I've got lukewarm, but interested in the regional, and it doesn't mean you can't change your mind. We're just trying to get the temperature of the room as we continue forward. We'll continue to build on both the concept of the private. We've met with DEMCON and Waste Management, and we're gonna be meeting with the disposal services next week. So we're trying to be aggressive to explore those options, and we're continuing to dig into and understand more of the 2 landfills in our region that are really viable for a regional landfill, and we'll provide more information as we can. That's all I've got, unless you have more questions.
Chris, did you say which counties would be involved in that 9-county, or did I just miss it?
You know, Commissioner Becker, I don't think I listed that in here, so I'm gonna go slowly through it as I remember them. So Todd, Wadena, Becker, Clay. Do you want me to go slower? Otter Tail.
Okay.
Pope, Douglas, Grant, and Stevens.
That's a lot of counties.
And what are the other counties within this region? Have they met at all? What are their feelings?
Excuse me.
I mean, I know we work with a lot of them through Rainbow Rider and so forth, so.
Right. So if I could answer your question a little more detailed in some areas and less in others. So Morrison County, Mike and I did go and meet with them to talk about this a year ago, January of '25. And generally, we asked them, you know, would you be willing to consider that we had a long-term arrangement that we could bring our C&D waste to you? And they said at this time, no, we're not open for that discussion. And we had a good meeting, talked about a lot of things. You know, the solid waste world has a lot of moving parts right now. So they said that. Then to the north of us, past Wadena, is Hubbard County, and there's essentially a 9-county group up there that acts like Prairie Lakes. I mean, they're, I believe, a joint powers. And they've kind of created their own boundary, and we work well with them. You know, John Steiner's their lead, and we work with him a lot.
Is that outside of Walker there? Cass County, is that where that's located?
So this is more northwest, so they're sending their MSW to Foston, which is waste to energy again, and they're working together on their C&D program.
Mr. Chair, I attended his meeting at AMC.
Okay.
So they
shared.
spoke about regional.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if Morris, have you had a conversation with Morrison since then? Since January?
Not since January, no.
Because Lou and I sit on a board that, well, they have another commissioner, and he was in my ear one day about, oh, Todd County won't send us any of their hauling stuff or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if he was talking the same thing you're talking, but he was like, who do I gotta?
We send.
Lou, who's that newer guy that's? Ed
Moran?
Ed Moran.
We send them I'm gonna guess 4,000 to 5,000
Again,
tons
I
of
might have been here in
MSW.
potato, and he's talking potato, but he was like,
Yeah.
why doesn't Todd County help send the stuff over, so.
Yeah, we do. We send MSW
months
to them, so.
Be interesting to hear more. I think we need more time on this.
Yep.
Investigate a little bit more,
And we're still working on it, and we'll have more information to share with you.
yeah.
Great.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And our last agenda item today is number 5, is a legislative update with our representative, Mike Weiner.
Do you want Representative Weiner just to come up to the table, or how do you, okay. Good.
Sure.
All right, sounds good.
We don't got a special red carpet for him, I'm sorry, Mike. But we have most of our department heads here that could make it to hear your updates.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, department heads.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna give him this. Thank you.
This is what he mainly wanted it for. I can discuss about the state side of it. I got you.
Floor is yours, Mike. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Well, thanks for having me. Legislative update. As pretty much everybody is well aware, the fraud is the center of attention in our state right now, and that's gonna cause some challenges, as was mentioned already. In our state, we have obviously some conflict with the federal government as well. And that is going to even lead to more issues as to what's going on. How do we overcome this? How do we deal with this? How does this affect people in our area? I wish I had a good answer for you. Unfortunately, it seems to be we're at the point where folks are butting heads instead of working together. Yesterday I made the comment about if we could just get Governor Walz and the president in the same room and talking, maybe things would go a little bit better, but unfortunately that probably won't happen. So next session here, what are we looking at for this next session? The possibility of a bonding bill is out there. We did pass a bonding bill last year. The appetite, especially with the current situation with spending and the sure everybody else is, or you're all aware of the projected $6 billion deficit that's looming in the out years. That's gonna create a lot of challenges. The state budget, the revenue is, and I don't have that number here with me, I looked at it yesterday, I apologize. But I think revenue is coming in about the same as projected. But really, this next session is going to be almost entirely discussion about the fraud and how we deal with it, and then cuts from the federal government. Health and Human Services, education are all going to be affected greatly. And I wish I had a better answer for you on how that's going to affect people, but I really don't. With that, we also have an election year coming up, which unfortunately, statistically, historically, means that legislatively, very little gets done. But that is just the nature of politics in our country right now. So if there is recommendations, suggestions, things that the county would like to see, discussions, I would love to hear from them. I plan on taking notes. I was hoping that the discussion would be back and forth a little bit, because that's really what I need to bring down to the Capitol. I do spend a lot of time talking with businesses and people in our area. The tax structure in our state is driving people out of our state. It's driving businesses out of our state. And how do we change that situation? I have a number of bills that I hope to at least get some committee time in front of this year. And in order to turn our state, we were well known as a manufacturing powerhouse. Basically 3M, minerals, mining, and manufacturing was the biggest employer. And we have driven some of those businesses, corporate headquarters and so forth, out of our state, which is causing more issues. So at this time, I would like to hear if we have questions, concerns, comments that I can bring back to the Capitol. Ideas for bills are always something I like to hear.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Mike, thanks for coming in today. DHS needs an overhaul as far as their upgrading of their computer system. Last report I've heard was, I don't know, 200 million, something like that. I really believe that that would be something that both parties probably should agree on. You know, it's been outdated. I know at some of our meetings, they said it's like 1930 technology and stuff like that, and it was brought over by the wagon train and everything, so. But that would be something that we need to update. So if you guys could really work on that or get a bill going on it, you know, if you look at $200 million for upgrading a system, it would also help alleviate a lot of that fraud that has been going on. And with the push of a button, you should be able to track that down. So it's just my 10 cents, so.
I couldn't agree with you more. The discussion had come up about Health and Human Services and the system that they deal with, the green wheel of death. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Phone a friend?
Phone a friend. Mm-hmm. Jackie came down to visit me at the Capitol. Yep. And we discussed this. It came up in committee where I said, this is an old DOS system. Isn't this the same thing we played Oregon Trail on when I was a kid? And it is. But then I've also found out that so many of those entities within the state don't communicate. Even if they're upgraded systems, they still don't communicate with a system that's maybe only 2 years old. I did talk to somebody from Bell Labs who they're very in tune to what's going on, especially with AI. And their idea or suggestion is one system that ties everything together. And especially with the advancements in AI, this is probably, not too far down the road, but it's still gonna take some time. But I would like to see that.
An integrated system is called interoperability. We do not have that. We don't have it here. We don't have it at the state. Which is why when Stephen had come in, I think it was, possibly even last year around this time, and he brought in all of those applications. It's not the protocols, it's just the applications. The protocols are something different. We have 20-plus different programs here at Todd County people can apply for. One program is one program, one application is one application. A lot of those applications, they're not coming in to apply for one thing. They're coming in to apply for many things, and one program is one program. So they are having to do applications for one program, even though they're here applying for multiple. And the staff need to work that independently. So they're entering date of births multiple times. A lot of inefficiency that is happening from the state, and the state is in crisis mode. We're trying to help them understand with systems modernization, it can fix some of this fraud that's out there. They legislatively, I believe, 39 million was allocated for systems updates last year. It's gonna take 200 to get us an interoperable system that can offer some efficiency down to counties. A lot of work to be done. And AI, not even to talk about AI. I mean, it could offer a lot of efficiency and interoperability that we don't have today. There's just a lot of considerations with that, so.
I think that 40 million had to do with the African American Preservation Act as well, and getting those systems to work together. But there again, we're still putting another system in place that doesn't necessarily communicate with the other ones that are there. So we're adding more confusion into this. There is a business that has done really good work. They do some of the monitoring of some of the programs, or work with some of the programs, and through just the AI that they've implemented now, they figured they've eliminated about 95% of the fraud that was taking place just in the entities that they work with. So there is success. Now that's still early. It's still basically just starting the process. How do we implement this at the state? It's gonna take some time.
That Disproportionality Act, Representative Whedon, we're talking about, it's the Minnesota African American Family Preservation and Child Welfare Disproportionality Act. It's really gonna be costly to counties and the state overall. It requires active efforts that we really have to do a lot more. I don't want to say hand-holding, but it's hand-holding with assuring that families are getting the services that we needed, that they are required to do independently today. It's going to require increased staffing, a lot of increased costs, transportation being one of them, getting them to their appointments versus asking them to do that on their own. It's going to be expensive, and we don't even have the system to do it. So when Representative talks about the Oregon Trail, our system now, we have to go in and look at each client, each case, and do chicken scratch to pull the data. It's archaic. So there's a lot of work needs to be done on it in order to for us to be able to have the ability to do the work that is legislatively been put forward.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I think the most frustrating part of this is we've been talking about this for 4 years, 5 years, and have we even made a baby step yet? No. So what does it take to get something moving.
And it's become very political. I was
Oh,
in that hearing,
absolutely.
and it became very tense very quickly with the audience. Some members in the public comment yelling and screaming, and they had to shut the session down, remove everybody from the room, bring them all back in, set some ground. It was very, very tense and very threatening at times, and it became very political very quickly that people became very uncomfortable when it came around voting. So, yeah, it's gonna be a tough subject.
It's something that has to move on, but yeah, what does it take to move it on?
Well, even with that bill, I believe that's being challenged as well,
Eh.
because the way it was written up, there was 2 counties that were going to have the program funded initially. And then therefore, there's a challenge saying you can't fund it for these 2, and it was set up as a pilot program. And then make everybody else pay for the program if you're gonna fund it for 2 counties. So that Preservation Act is being challenged, if I recall correctly, right now. I don't know where that's gonna be, but that doesn't answer the question of the systems. And that's where we should be able to find, some common ground. I guess I didn't understand the full scope of it until, being in office and talking to different entities and saying, well, why doesn't this connect with this? Well, this system was put in place under this administration, and this was there. And then it is a big project, and I question if 200 million even does it, because of all of the entities across the state that you would have to take the systems out of, put system in. It's a big undertaking.
And the 2 counties that the pilot was Hennepin and Ramsey. So our 2 largest populated counties in the state would have been paid for, and then the rest of us picks up the cost.
And those are also the 2 counties that have the most workers.
And
the individual programs for each worker doesn't do what outstate Minnesota needs. I mean, where you have to, one worker has to know all the programs. Yeah.
So, what we are already getting questions from our management team here, our department heads, is like, what are we thinking about for 2026? Or 2027, I'm sorry, I came up in the last department head meeting. And, we were really skinny last year for going into 2026. My concern or what do we tell folks? Because in uncertain times, it's like most people pull their horns in and keep everything as close as possible and don't spend extra money and don't do this and don't do that. And, is $6 billion the real number of the deep deficit? Because given the fact that they just had to call hundreds of Minnesota National Guard down for a weekend, and I don't know what that costs when they do that, but it's not free because now they're active duty. And, the Minneapolis or whoever's inability to deal with the agitators and the protesters, and it just mounts and mounts and mounts. So when our team's looking for all these answers, the finance committee and the commissioners are going, we got to keep serving our constituents, but we're asked to do it with, bubble gum and banding wire. So, we already are planning or looking to 27, and I just can't imagine 6 billion is a real number. But any thoughts or any,
I have said since the projected 6 billion came out, I said that will probably be higher, 8 to 10 is my projection, because unfortunately, there's variables in the markets, there's variables in our state. And when you see those changes, those shifts, we've lost approximately, I think it's over $2 billion of adjusted gross income out of the state. Those are the high earners in our state. They've gone to other states because of the tax structure, because of stability. Look at how many people have left our own area, just citizens, because they wanted lower taxes. They've gone to Texas, they've gone to Tennessee, other places. Businesses do the same thing. And your property taxes keep increasing also. We see people who have chosen to go somewhere else because it's cheaper to live. So when we lost that adjusted gross income of about $2 billion, that's revenue that's leaving the state. And the IRS does a very good job of tracking people going in versus coming out. When you lose that money, it creates more problems to our revenue coming back into the state. We have an election coming up. Can that offer some of that stability that we need in the state? I hope so, because the chaos does not do us any good. You know, the situation in the cities with the riots and so forth, it doesn't do any of us any good. I said the other day, it would be nice if Minnesota just went back to being normal. What do we do to do that? Conversations, first of all, realization that sometimes when government steps into positions that maybe they shouldn't, that we got to reassess what we do and say, this isn't working. Our state budget has gone from, and I think I've shared this number with you guys, $35 billion about 10 years ago to almost $70 billion now. And I say, has our citizens' income increased, has doubled over the last 10 years? I don't know of anybody's that has. So we have to start assessing what we're doing here in the state of Minnesota. One of the things is, and I hope that we do this more, is instead of the omnibus bills, single subject bills, so that we can analyze each and every piece of legislation, the impact that it's going to have on the citizens. Because when you lump these big bills together and you have literally hundreds of pages of information, you cannot go through that and tell me the effects of every piece of legislation in there. Health and Human Services bill Health and Human Services is the largest portion of the state budget. And when that's lumped into one bill, you cannot tell me what's in that bill. So hopefully moving forward, we can discuss some of these things because we do have to look at how we're doing business. Well, I guess if you were a business and you were looking at a projected $6-8 billion worth of deficit, wouldn't you reassess how you're running your business? The bank would look at you and say, you better figure this out because this isn't working. And I think that's what we have to do in this state.
Well, you know the old adage, Mike, if you owe the bank $100, they got you, but if you owe the bank $40 million, you got them. That's what they've done to the citizens of Todd County in Minnesota. The state government owes us millions and millions of dollars, so they think they got us. That's what it boils down to, for me personally, so.
Well, and there's a valid question, I think.
So we need you to fight, we need you to fight, and I know you do, appreciate it. You got other guys, other people in the area that do that too, so. Yeah, getting rid of the omnibus bill would be great. I mean, it's just full of pork.
Well, and if you haven't noticed it or seen it, it's out on social media quite a bit. I've written up the articles of impeachment for the governor. And this started before the fraud really blew up nationally, because in order to instill confidence back in government, there has to be accountability. If you were the CEO of a business, if you were the head of a major corporation and you lost billions of dollars, you wouldn't even have a job. So when I look at our state, there has to be accountability. I've had quite a few interviews and stuff since that legislation, or since I wrote that, and it was made known public. And people said, well, isn't he stepping down? Isn't that enough? So if you start a charity and you collect $1 million to go to the homelessness in Minneapolis, and all of a sudden you find the public finds out that you've squandered this money, I mean, shouldn't that person still be held accountable? Whether you're in the non-public sector, public sector, or whatever the case is, there has to be accountability. And I think to restore some of the confidence back into our government and offer that stability, yes, the governor said buck stops with him, I believe he needs to be held accountable.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I wrote down 1, 2, 3. One was DHS, 2, property taxes. We gotta figure that out. I'm gonna say another 5, 10 years. I mean, we're gonna have people in Todd County that ain't gonna be able to afford to live here.
You got yours numbered, so I don't have 'em. I want to add those. So why is the homestead credit got increased? Because every house nowadays is 100,000 more, it's considerably more than what it was when they made that number for the homestead credit.
Right.
That'd be one, to me, pretty easy way to at least give some relief to certain.
So that has been discussed, the homestead credit increasing that. Also, excuse me, California has, I think it's Prop 76, I'm not sure if that's the number, but I think it is, which actually caps your property taxes. So you can only go up 2% per year. Discussed quite a bit. Well, when I first, my first year, I brought it up to department heads and so forth, and it was kind of looked down upon a little bit, but I think there's more discussion about it now. And how that works is, if you own your property, your taxes can only go up that 2% per year until you sell the property. Then the tax is re-evaluated to the current market standard. What it does is, I'll just use my mom as a prime example. She's out on the home farm. If property taxes fluctuate like they do, and we're seeing 30% increase from one year to the next, how can somebody like that on a fixed income stay in their property? If it's only 2% per year, they can adjust for it, they can make changes. It does cause some potential issues for the county. Because if the state is putting unfunded mandates onto the county, how are they gonna make up the difference? So a cap on property taxes also has to be matched with a limitation on unfunded mandates from the state. They have to work together.
My third one was education. Why are students in the seven-county metro area worth more than rural Minnesota students? So when it comes to funding, their student payment is more than rural Minnesota.
I think that is actually, I understand the concern, but even cost of living in the metro is different. It is higher to have property in the cities. I mean, if you're looking at a house down there versus a house here, it's a different tax bracket. I mean, it's just, it is more expensive to live down there. So I believe when they look at cost per student, the expense of having transportation, everything else is higher as well. And it depends upon the schools. Some of them are not too much different than ours. Some of them are, I wish I could remember the numbers off the top of my head, but there isn't a huge variation in my opinion, but there is variation. And a lot of that has to do with simply cost of operating in those districts.
Okay.
We look at transportation out here would be a prime example. If you asked Mike Axman what it cost him to transport students, it's going to be considerably different here than it would be in Hennepin or Anoka or Ramsey or someplace like that. So just those expenses are higher.
Okay.
Okay, if I can, I think, and I didn't make a list like Randy did, but my major concern is the unfunded mandates. I mean, how can the state pass all these programs, run out of money, and then turn it back down to the counties? I mean, we work on a very strict budget. Budgeting is a major part of us being commissioners. We work on it probably year-long. These mandates will kill these local counties.
I agree. This is something we've talked about, and I guess a number of years ago, I was in complaining about our property taxes at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Said
just,
then that we're gonna be taxing grandma out of her house. We're to that point. Did I fully understand what the state does to our counties? No, I didn't. I really didn't. So I think I gave him an earful at that meeting, but at the same time, he was very respectful.
But I
Thank
mean,
you.
yeah,
But educating people too. These concerns that are happening in the state are not necessarily local issues. I've been pretty adamant that when the property taxes are going up and people are talking about the county commissioners and what they're doing, they're dealing with the statutes that was mentioned earlier for different things. Statutes say that the state tells you to do this as a county, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And your hands are kind of tied. If you look at how the state budgeted historically, the state budget was primarily by property taxes until early 1970s. And they said this is causing issues because now people didn't want to buy property because the property taxes were too high. So they redesigned how the taxes were collected, and what we did, they called it the Minnesota Miracle at that time. And there's a graph that shows the property taxes going up. They hit this Minnesota Miracle and it dropped those property taxes, which caused people to buy more land out in greater Minnesota. It actually helped growth. In order to make up the difference, they taxed income and businesses more. So when you see the graph, it's kind of interesting. It goes up into the 1970s of how property taxes funded the state, and then it drops. And then you see how the income tax started funding the state. The downfall that we have now is as the income tax has gone up to fund the state, the property taxes have come up almost to the point where they were in the 1970s when we had the Minnesota Miracle. So we have overtaxed our citizens. When we thought we fixed a problem, or government thought they fixed a problem in the 1970s, we are back into the same situation. And we are one of the highest tax states. I think we're number 5 overall income property sales out of all 50 states. And we do not have a lot of the same things California, Texas, New York has. It puts us at a serious disadvantage.
Mike, I just want to say thanks for getting on social media and making all your videos. I mean, that's it's good information to have. And I mean, you let it out as soon as you get it, and there's a ton of people that can't make it to the Capitol and can't really advocate for themselves. So it's nice to know that you're willing to do that and inform them. I just kind of want to give you an update for us too. Is that we're not. I mean, we all understand that the topics we talked about earlier, the fraud and the conflict with federal government and whatnot, and the looming debt. But as Bob mentioned earlier, with our last year preparing with our financial budget going into this year, like our department heads and our employees and our staff, they went above and beyond and understood what we needed, not just as employees, but also as, you know, citizens of the county. They understand where they want to live and where they want to work, and we greatly all appreciate that here. And they've been taken on the chin, as you know, and keeping our services high. And to what you said about educating people, and like I've seen our assessor's office, you know, coming to meetings and giving basically a whole education course, as long as, you know, it's the same with our solid waste, educating people why our costs of doing stuff. So that I'm so thankful that we have the people in the right spots, and for doing that. Like I said, I feel pretty uneasy about that big deficit, like Bob was saying, about how do we, you know, they bought into the program, they're working their tails off, they want to live here to try to make a better place for their families and for all of us. How do we give them encouragement to do it again and stay the course? And I mean, there's got to be some good coming out of your line of work right now. So if we could, I mean, again, I'm not ignoring all the problems, but there's got to be something to give us some hope to strive forward. Just anything on the good end would be great.
Well, I think human nature follows patterns. It really does. If you look at, in the 1970s, the city of New York was like the murder capital of the world. They got to a point where they did not address crime as well as they should have. And all of a sudden, there's a recorrection. There was a person that was put into office, said, we're going to police different in the state, or in the city, I'm sorry, and the crime just dropped. So we follow this pattern where we kind of get complacent, lackadaisical. We don't focus on things. Life's going pretty good. And then all of a sudden, something happens that's kind of the turning point. Are we at that point in our state? I think we are. I really do. And you mentioned the social media. I have a hard time doing that, to be honest with you, because I say I've got a face for radio and not TV. So it's hard for me to get on social media and record myself, but I always end my clips with, our best days are not behind us, they're in front of us.
Yeah.
It's up to us to make it happen. So do we have challenges? Absolutely. Can we fix this? Absolutely. We just have to realize that this is the issues. We have to find solutions, come up with a game plan, and make it happen. And I think elections have consequences. You know, we have elections coming up this year for governor and the state offices. You know, educate yourselves, get involved in the caucuses now, become delegates to pick the candidates that you want to see on the ballots. We are seeing a lot of the discussion at the governor's forums and so forth, bringing up topics that I didn't hear 4 years ago. So I see addressing issues that need to be addressed, at least being discussed.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mike, this is Jackie for County Coordinator. Just, I know you go back on, is it February 17th you guys are going back? Okay. Do you have any sense of the timing of the rollout of when more numbers would come out? Just from a planning perspective of all of us helping us with our budgeting? Because as Commissioner Byers said, I mean, we've worked really hard on the budget, but do you have any sense of when they might know what we're looking at for 2027, or?
Well, we usually get February numbers. Well, we get updates every month, basically, about state revenue and so forth. The budget for 27, 28 is already fixed, and that's where we're looking at the $6 billion deficit. But the challenges really are gonna come with the cuts from federal money coming in. And when does that hit our state? I don't know for sure. It depends upon a lot of different factors. And really, some of that comes down to the federal government has asked and requested certain things from the state, and the state has denied. And therefore, the state or the federal government is saying, well, if you're gonna deny this information, we're gonna cut the funding. So if we simply do what the federal government is requesting, we wouldn't have some of these issues as well. So I wish I had a better answer for you on the numbers, but I can, you know, as we move forward here, I can stay in touch and keep you updated.
Good.
So, Mr. Chair, two more things. Family Medical Leave Act. Okay, the state's gonna hire how many new employees? 200? Or they already hired them?
I think that program was more like 400, if I recall correctly. I may be wrong on that, but I thought it was 400 FTEs.
Okay. Thoughts on
And I
that?
don't believe all of them are hired yet. Last time, I think only about half is what I heard. The program is up and running. The first 2 weeks, I believe, there was 12 or 15,000 people who had applied for it. The system was seeded with about $630 million in order to just get off the ground. That was part of that surplus money that was put into this. Every other state who has put a paid family medical leave in place has had to increase the deduction from paycheck, from your payroll, because it does not pan out. It doesn't work. And I've said since the very beginning that this program will be filled with fraud. way before the fraud blew up in our state. The way it is designed and set up is a huge gap between the employer and the state. The verification system there is horrible. This program will be the next one in the next couple of years where they say it's filled with fraud. And I can't verify this, but I was told that with the police department, with the chaos that's going down in the cities right now, we've already got a number of officers who are requesting paid family medical leave because of the situation down there. That system will be bankrupt in a very short time period, I predict. And then unfortunately, what will happen is it'll come back to the legislature to either increase those numbers or decide what to do. And I think it's gonna be a tough discussion because a lot of people end up being emotionally connected to their legislation and turn a blind eye to if it's successful or not. It's very hard for, I think, most politicians to realize that something you voted on may not have turned out the way you expected it to. This piece of legislation is a bad thing for our state. It could have been dealt with. Well, 80% of businesses already offer some sort of paid family medical leave. They already do. There's many big businesses that offer a better program that had to cut their program back to meet the states. So that's not good. The other thing is there's many startup businesses, small businesses that simply can't afford to do this.
If I could,
The attack
Mike.
on small business is horrible. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
if I could, Mike, I have heard from many small businesses, under 10 employees, constructions, restaurants, whatever, and how are they going to be able to work this in when they have such few employees? They have a big project going on and all of a sudden, their workers are taking the day off. I mean, it's, yeah, it's going to really hurt the small employees, especially within this area. Yeah,
Well, then it increases the property taxes in our county.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last thing, I give you a map there, Mike. County Park Board asked Representative Crenshaw, I think back in 2010, to draft legislation to have the county acquire this piece of property for a county park. It does require legislation, and we were just hoping maybe if you would be kind enough to try to carry this forward again. I know the park board would have to come back. I thought the park board come to the county board before with this. Jolene had drafted up a ton of information on this and give it to Representative Crenshaw, and nothing happened with it. So again, this would be a good economic, this is about 5 miles west of Long Prairie. The Long Prairie Park Board was in the Park and Trails meeting the other night. They're gonna continue to work on Mosquito Park. Okay, clean it up more. We thought that would be a good combination that the county and the city work together on something, whether somebody starts a canoe business or a tubing business from this point to, what's West Side Park?
Yeah, West Side.
Yeah, West Side and then Mosquito Park, it would be awesome. So it's just an economic thing. There is 5 acres there, you know, that we'd have, you know, the county board eventually would probably have to have public hearings on if it was ever open up to camping. But there's getting to be fewer and fewer places to come into Todd County to camp. And there is.
And we had talked about this before, and I didn't really, I questioned a little bit because I thought, is there a need, is there a desire, how does this work for other areas? So I have to do my due diligence, you know. I talked to Wadena County and didn't realize how many situations or areas that they have like this. and the success of them. They're very happy with what they have up there and what it brings into their community. So they're pretty happy with it. So I had to check into that after last time we talked, but
Okay,
yeah. It hasn't fallen on deaf ears.
all right. Be appreciated. Thanks.
You got
Mr.
it.
Sheriff.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Been a good discussion. This time we will go to recess, right? That's the right word, recess? We're ending work session.
It's over.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Just having a public access.